my name's Wedge. That's me. That's a very recent photograph of me. I'm sure it's less than a decade, so that's just fine. I've been an internet consultant for 22, 23 years, and no, I've been an internet manager and comms person for 22, 23 years, but I've been a consultant for about 10, most of those with Clearbox Consulting. Clearbox Consulting is an independent consultancy. We do a lot of intranet, digital communications, and SharePoint, but we're not wedded to SharePoint, although today is about SharePoint. Let's have a look at our agenda. So I'm going to go through this agenda in around about 23, 25 minutes, which leaves plenty of time for your questions and maybe some of my answers. First off, yes, SharePoint is boxy, and straight away I'm going to give you my very best design trick. So please keep my design trick in mind as we go through this presentation. Then we'll go into detail on the brand new web parts. We'll compare them just quickly, and yes, I will mention the flexible section and its pitfalls. Then we'll look at literally how to revamp your SharePoint intranet homepage in 20 minutes. So, SharePoint is boxy, and that's no bad thing. What we're supposed to be doing, though, is using multiple sections as we design, layout, and build pages so that we can avoid that wall of text look and feel. What I always say, what I always do, is use the 1/3 right section layout. And this gives you two columns. The first column being 2/3 wide for your main text, and the second column being 1/3 wide. And we use the right-hand column for ancillary supportive information, which includes buttons and images, so that all images have their place on a page, so that it's not random. I didn't need to use the word ancillary there, but I wanted to. And with these sections, you get to choose different background colors for each of the sections, and you need to keep readability and accessibility in mind, but using different background colors depending on your theme, depending on your SharePoint palette, helps the eye keep a track of where you are down the page. So if you are publishing long text pages, breaking it up into sections breaks up the wall of text, and along with subheadings helps the eye know where it is. On the right hand side, and on the left occasionally, but on the right hand side column, you will be popping in your web parts. That's the quick links styled as buttons, and it will be your illustrative and designer images. Major images like screenshots might go on the left hand side if they're really important, but your illustrative images or your portraits of people can go on the right hand side. You will want to sometimes title the web parts, but please don't just use the default SharePoint name. For instance, if you put in 3 quick links and style them as buttons, as I am wont to do, you wouldn't want to entitle them quick links, because that's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous because what you're saying is, these are the quick links and all the other links are slow links. And we've been having this debate for 25 years in web design, and we know that actually, if you're putting 3 links on the right-hand side and you want to entitle them, you should entitle them with a title that describes the 3 links' function. So you give them an actual practical title. I say this all the time. If you meet me, I'll say it to you face to face, but I'm going to move on quickly. So here's my best design trick. I designed the section background to be in harmony with the web part background. I usually do this by using the exact same image background, although I might zoom in, as I have done here, on that section background. So here you can see my section background is the ground and the sky, and that's zoomed in, and that means I've left the tree for just the web part on the left. And with the web part and the section, I use SharePoint to give us a dark or light overlay to ensure the text is legible and readable. We're thinking about accessibility and UX here. With the section, quite interestingly perhaps, the darker overlay on this choice is going from right to left. You can see how it's dark on the right and it goes through fading to bright on the left. And that's your choice. SharePoint gives you these options itself, so you don't have to do any editing to darken things or add a fade in Photoshop. So that's my top design trick, and I've shared this before, and I think it really enhances any homepage, any landing page, even a content page. What I especially like, if we break it down, oh, sorry, here's a second example. So in this example, same background, but our main web part is now on the right-hand side. There's that tree, and then just the regular highlighted content web part on the left. So even a standard web part like that highlighted content on the left can look good with a section background image when that section background image relates to the main web part, which is that one with the tree and the same ground. Let's break it down for you. So as always, I'm using the 1/3 right layout. That's my favorite. It's always appropriate to aid readability when you're publishing articles, news, and essays. The first section at the top there, I'll just tell you it's off-white. It may look white, but SharePoint's helping me put that as off-white. And the bottom section is pale blue. Now that pale blue will actually depend on your SharePoint palette, your brand coloring, which of course you can design, but you probably designed 5 years ago and just left. And then the section we're talking about, as I say, it has the same background image as the web part. I've zoomed in. Notice gloriously that the background image is full width. On a small laptop screen, you won't notice, but on a desktop screen, it's full width. It goes beyond on the left and beyond on the right. So that's really nice as an eye rest, and it shows you where you are on the page as you're quickly scrolling down. And of course, I've made SharePoint put the dark fade, the dark overlay on both images for the legibility of text. Interestingly, you can align things top, middle, bottom, left and right. And so you get to do some design choices. You get to design how that section looks, how that web part looks with alignment of the text and images, top, middle, bottom, left, right, etc. Also, I could be tempted to add some extra empty space to the sections, to all of the sections on the screen right now. I do that by using the spacer web part, which is kind of invisible, but when you touch it, you get to make it as small as you can. And adding empty space gives a page space to breathe, gives the eye a rest, and it also helps things be locally contained. So when things relate to each other, they should be locally contained and separated from things they don't relate to. And in my example here, I've got a good example. On the left is performance reviews for all employees. So that's like a 3-month campaign. But on the right, that's a text box with a button I put in myself that's still related to performance reviews, but is for managers only. Alrighty, on to the new web parts. And this is a bit of a fake out because the banner web part is not brand new. But let me remind you that the banner on a page or a page template used to be fixed. It's basically the top. It took up a great deal of space and that was it. Lots of different styles, 3 or 4 different styles, but the banner was at the top. Now you can move it around. In my example here, I've put it in the right-hand side, so it's very, very small, but actually if it was 2/3 wide, I think it'd be very pleasing. The thing about the new banner is it'll be useful for your page templates if you want to redesign your page templates so that there's more room for text. What do I mean by more room for text? Well, on a small laptop screen, using older pages in SharePoint, as soon as you land on a page, really, it's the banner that screams at you and you must scroll before you're allowed to read any text at all. You can redesign page templates now to start with text, leaving the banner on the right-hand side perhaps. However, the banner does not contain many words at all. As you can see, that top example is truncated, although the bottom example works okay for 5 words. So as always with SharePoint design, there's a compromise. You've got to be aware of the end result. You wouldn't use this on a home page, probably not even a landing page, because nothing about the banner web part is clickable. So I'm just mentioning it because not a lot of people know about it. But let's get on to something a little bit more exciting. Again, I can't claim this is a brand new web part, but it's a brand new layout for the hero web part. Now, the hero web part, I think, is reasonably popular. There it is shown at the bottom right as the tile layout, and that is really popular. I think it can become a little bit staid. I think if you visited a department site and that's the first thing you see month after month after month, and the department doesn't change the news, the content, the images, I think it can look a little bit stale and staid. So I think managing a hero web part is a semi-full-time job. That's my opinion. However, we're discussing the new layout of the hero web part, and that is the carousel layout. Now, the carousel at the top right there, it auto moves, and as you can see, it has controls at the bottom. So I have a problem with carousels because they move and because they hide content. So just like when I'm advising clients with the news web part, I am now advising clients about the hero web part to avoid using carousels for multiple pieces of content because, as on screen, carousels hide content, reducing reading and reducing clicks. And as comms people, aren't we looking for more clicks and more reading? And of course, carousels kind of demand interaction for no good reason. Why are we doing this to our people? They're busy. They don't want to click through just in case something's interesting. So it might sound that I'm not a fan of carousels, but I'm going to show you that I am a big fan of carousels. Here's how to use the three styles of carousel. So first thing you want to do is plonk the hero web part onto your page. So just remember, just because I'm talking about carousels, the fact is the web part's name is still hero. And then you lay it out as carousel instead of tiles, perhaps. And then SharePoint will show you, as on screen, these three styles. I am excitement. Let's have a look. Style number one, the image. So have a great image and then deal with the 4 areas of content you can type in. Consider readability, make sure that you darken or lighten the fade overlay on that image so that the text is legible. Fantastic, looks great. Style number 2, a text box. So no fade, no worry at all about legibility and readability, but I will point out the 4 areas of text that you can see on the screen. Where it says don't use the hero carousel with multiple items, that's a short amount of text on this particular style. So when you're doing your content, when you're putting in your text on this web part, as you flick through the 3 styles, as I'm showing you now, just be aware that each style deals with those content parts, those content areas, a little bit differently. Style number 3, diagonal. How extraordinary for SharePoint. Look what it's doing to that text, which is just flowing over onto the image that's shown. Extraordinary for SharePoint. So with those 3 styles, you can really do a great deal of designing on your homepage or department landing page or topic landing page. So here's my good practice advice. By all means, take a screenshot or wait for our video in a couple of days, 3 or 4 days. So the reason why I am going to be using the carousel style of hero web part in the future is that I will be using it with a single piece of news or a single piece of content that I want to highlight, that I want to become popular. And that way there are no controls and there's no movement and therefore no content is hidden. So I'm using this as a big billboard. So my advice is use with a single item and style as you like. Those 3 choices, they're all fantastic. If necessary, darken or lighten the overlay to ensure that text is readable and legible. You've got 4 elements of text to put in, including that button. That's an element to deal with. Make sure you use 3 or 4 of them. Compare this static carousel, as I'm calling it, the static carousel for one single item. Compare it with the editorial web part and the call to action web part. And we're going to do that today. The editorial web part, this is the one. You thought I liked the carousel? No, 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 no. I love the editorial web part. So be prepared to see it overly used across your intranet, because once people get a sniff of this, they'll probably plonk it everywhere. So judicious use, as with every part of our design, judicious use of the appropriate web parts for the appropriate content for the appropriate audiences. But the editorial web part, it's been so carefully thought through. It's really amazing for SharePoint. It's an obvious candidate for replacing some of your current call to action web parts. In fact, I know from clients, a lot of clients struggle to use the old call to action web part because people couldn't identify the button. The editorial web part looks great and it's fantastic to communicate something directly. So even if the person does not click this particular example to download the info pack, it's a great reading experience, so they will get your message. Here's how to deal with it. Edit the web part properties to see your 3 layout options: image overlay, color block, and split. You can play with alignments, you can make some real design choices, and as I say, I don't believe in centered text, but all the other alignments are great. Play with them in a holistic sense so that your editorial web part looks great on your page in relation to other elements. Here's layout number 1, the image overlay, and what I'm doing now is I'm showing you it in medium size on the left and on small size on the right. Again, thinking about legibility, contrast, readability, you should deal with the overlay opacity, making it darker or lighter as is best. Yeah, probably use less text than I have, but as you can see, the editorial web part is great for doing direct communication, even if people don't choose to click your button. Layout number 2, color block. Fantastic. So it really highlights and frames the text you're using. It's particularly pleasing when the image is suitable. You get to see a good glimpse of the image. But look at it on the small scale. Okay, the image is no longer as impactful, but look at it framing your text. Layout number 3, split. So no concerns about the legibility of text because that will be a simple block of color, probably white, depending on your palette. But the image is shown clearly. So instead of using an inspirational or illustrative image, as I often do, maybe this image can be useful, so directly related to your message. So that's a fantastic use of the split layout. Definitely get a great image and then your message. Looks great, medium size and small size. All 3 need careful button design. So here I am comparing the old call to action with the new hero carousel layout and the new editorial web part. The text you put into the button needs to be actionable and concise. Certainly not a long sentence that can get confused with the regular text above, as above in the call to action. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people who have used the call to action. They use a lot of text in that button, so it no longer looks like a button, it looks like another text box. But look at how great the carousel with a single item looks there. It's not moving, it's single item. You can't use it at a small size though, so it's great for full width, very large, and it's great for medium. Whereas the editorial is stunning in every size and in every configuration. So I'm really telling you to go through your intranet and consider replacing your call to action web parts with the hero carousel single item, or definitely the editorial web part. But maybe in tight spots, the call to action web part still has its place. So judicious use, make good design choices. And be concise. Why waste time say lot word when few word do trick? Thank you, Kevin. So those are the new web parts. Now over to the flexible section, which I think a lot of people are talking about, but I am not yet joyful about it. As you know, I'm an evangelist of the 1/3 right layout for sections. There it is on screen, there's a choice, because text is more readable when set in 2/3. And also it's nice to have a narrow column for supportive information and buttons on the right. But we're talking about page design, template page design, and the home page design. And so the new flexible section, there it is highlighted, might prove to be incredible for home pages and product or service landing pages. The previous slide showed you how to create a new flexible section. Here's how to use it. First, notice this new icon, top right. You can drag it to make the flexible section taller, bigger. Putting web parts into the flexible section is not the same as with the old sections, with regular sections. It's now done strictly via the toolbox sidebar. Do you know the toolbox sidebar? I hate it. I always automatically close it, but now I'm having to train myself to open it. And you open it with the highlighted toolbox icon there that's on the right-hand side. And then now you get to see web parts and you can drag them into your flexible section. Otherwise, what I do is I actually create web parts in some other random section above, and then I drag them into my flexible section. Once you pop in a web part into your flexible section, you can see, as on screen, there's a new properties, there's a new menu, and it's about overlaying web parts atop or beneath, my goodness, other web parts on the page to create a truly unique design. And I think it's a little bit risky, but use the tools provided to do the very best design and test on different screen sizes. You can drag web parts around, and as you can see in this preview, it gives you a little blue outline of how big it will be when you stop dragging. And you can resize web parts. Once you plonk them, you'll want to resize them. Can you see there's a tiny white dot? If you drag that dot, you will make the web part smaller and it will dynamically move and shape itself on the flexible section. So I think we all need to experiment, and I think we all need to see when and why we would use a flexible section. Here's my hot tips. I hope in a few months there will be good examples that can inspire us all. I hope that I will build some good examples, but my worry is that product and service teams will build glossy experiences. Do you know what I mean? Long zigzag pages that offer little content, but make me investigate a lot before I can work out what I want to click to get to where I want to be. I can almost forgive product and service teams for doing this. But the risk for corporate intranets, though, is that HR and L&D will be inspired by such glossy experiences and craft convoluted homepages, landing pages that make colleagues feel lost. Diagonals, random images, words that are overlapping images in a bad way. It's just a worry. I just think that these flexible layouts sections will encourage idiosyncratic, inconsistent design. However, please, fellow communicators and publishers, please prove me wrong. So with all those new web parts, how do you revamp your homepage in 20 minutes? So please do take a screenshot right now or wait for the video in 2 or 3 days, because the point is you should look at your homepage and consider, beyond the news that's on your homepage, what is it that you are promoting? What are the long-term comms campaigns? What are the upcoming events and tasks that people must do? So look at your homepage, or any page, template, landing page, topic page, and click Edit, and look down and find your existing call to action web parts, or if you've used a text web part to highlight something or to give instruction. Don't delete it just now. Beneath it, create a new editorial web part or hero carousel single topic web part as you prefer. Copy or type in the text and links necessary to recreate what you had in that call to action in your new editorial or carousel web part. And now you can delete the old call to action web part and finesse how your design works, sizing, alignment, your choice of images. Click Save. I said that on purpose. Click Save and ask your nearby intranet editor colleague of this particular site for feedback on your new design. Okay, you don't have an editor colleague, I get it. So now you have to press publish, so I'm saying publish on purpose. Once it's published, it is live, so now you can ask for feedback from any nearby colleague. And by nearby, I mean physically or emotionally. But what if you're not already using what if you're not already using the call to action web part on your homepage? Well, here's my advice again. Please do take a screenshot or wait for the video. If you don't currently use call to action web part, consider, think, discuss with your colleagues, what is it that needs promoting? Medium-term content needs. Is it about reporting submissions? Is it about timesheets? Is it about feedback? Is it about performance reviews? Is it about quarterly performance reviews? Yes, it is. Your comms campaigns that need to be on the homepage or this landing page for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks to help people remember to go and do something. So look at your homepage, add a section, a whole section, somewhere in the middle or lower to break up your homepage. Style it as 1/3 right or possibly full width. You don't have to always listen to me. Add the editorial web part and think about adding the quick links web part and style it as buttons. And then style those buttons and link them to the useful things. So you've got multiple buttons to help people signpost to the documents and to the other intranet pages that they need in order to action on the instruction you're giving them. Deal with the background image as per my design trick. So the background image of the section matching the background image of the editorial or hero carousel web part. And that'll give you something like this perhaps. Remember, the impact of your design has to be holistic. Above, below, left and right all matter. And you might add some additional empty space using the spacer web part. I guess I'm encouraging you to design restful breaks as you go down your intranet homepage. You're adding additional content, but actually you're also adding a restful break. You're reducing the busyness by having plain colors or a plain image background. And it breaks up the page and hopefully reduces busyness rather than adding to the busyness.